And Peter, to what you said, I mean, what Ohtani did yesterday, I think it might be a little bit hyperbolic to say it's the greatest game in baseball history. But you know what? It's part of the discussion. And the season that he's having has never been had before. He is an extraordinary, extraordinary player. And now I'm hearing word that he might pitch in the postseason. So
yeah, that's what they're saying, huh?
Unbelievable. He's an unbelievable ball player. He just is. We might not ever see the likes of him again.
So obviously last night, 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 10 RBI, hits 50-50.
2 stolen bases.
With the 2 stolen bases, plus the home runs. Michael, if he were to pitch in the postseason and be great and hit well, and they win the World Series, we will be having a conversation about whether or not this is the greatest thing we've ever seen in baseball.
Well, it's funny, Bob Costas, I think he was on today on MLB Network with Russo, and he said if in 15 years the Hall of Fame says we're cutting our membership down to just 20 players in the history of baseball, Costas said that Ohtani would be one of those 20 players.
Wow.
Which is, that's a mouthful. Think about the great players that have played in baseball, and Costas is saying if they cut it down to 20, he'd be one of the 20.
I've always said...
Go ahead, Don.
Go ahead. I would say it's probably a conversation for a little bit later on, but if you were to find out that he had this 6th season because he didn't pitch, would you be fighting for him to pitch, knowing that he might be capable of doing this on a more consistent basis when he could just focus on hitting and not having to pitch?
Don, the reason he's having this season because he's not pitching, he would not steal 50 bases if he was pitching. There's no way. Maybe he hits the 50 home runs, but there's no way he'd have the 50 stolen bases. He couldn't destroy his legs like that.
No.
So, how valuable is he? He might be worth the money they're paying him just for this, but I think it's very important for him to do stuff that's never been done before. Let's go to Victor in Brooklyn.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Victor.
Hey, buddy. Hey.
Just curious, Michael, question for you. And Peter, Michael, Don, hope all is well. Question for you, Ohtani, with his game last night.
Yeah.
You kind of shrugged it off when Peter said it's like one of the best baseball games, or if he said the best baseball game ever played by a player. Can we come up with one better than that?
Oh, okay.
Off the top of your head?
Yeah, I could. I could. How about a guy pitching a perfect game in the World Series? Is that a better game?
Oh, okay. No, okay, let me rephrase it then. Offensively.
Okay, how about Mark Whitten had 4 home runs, 2 grand slams in 1 inning? We're victims of right now. I don't want to take anything away from Ohtani. That was brilliant. But to say it's the greatest baseball game ever played? Come on, relax.
But
it's up there.
God, you're getting upset.
I'm not upset at all.
It's got to be up there, Michael.
It is up there.
I know A-Rod had a 10 RBI game against the Angels back in 2005. He is the 3rd Dodger to have 10 RBIs at a game, including Duke Snider did it back in 1970 or 1950. But to go 6 for 6 and in 2 stolen bases, 3 home runs. Michael, I'd like to see the one that was better. But really, I'd like to see that.
I do believe it's one of the greatest games ever, but for people to just automatically say it's the greatest game ever, no, I'm not signing off on that yet. I just told you Mark Whitten had 4 home runs and 2 grand slams in 1 inning. That's a pretty damn good game.
But did he? But that still doesn't eclipse 3 home runs and 10 RBIs.
Why? 2 grand slams in 1 inning? I think he had more than 10 RBIs.
Well, I don't know what the total RBIs is, but it sounds cool to say 2 grand slams in 1 inning. That's very cool. I don't know if that makes it inherently better.
I'm not saying it's better, but I'm pushing back on the greatest game ever played. It's one of the greatest games ever played.
Right, but this is...
He had 12 RBIs and 4 home runs.
That was Whitten?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what was his line, though?
I think it was 4 for 4, I think.
And then you throw the 2.
It says 4 home runs.
You throw the 2.
It says 4 home runs, 12 RBIs.
Just I'm with you, Michael. Whenever we see a great game, that's the greatest game ever played. That's always going to be subjective. But when you're talking about these totals, it would be very difficult for me to believe just following baseball as long as I have, and not being an historian, but kind of knowing a fair amount, it'd be hard for me to believe that it wouldn't automatically be in the top 5.
I agree with you.
And to imagine what would be considered better. So this isn't like I don't think this is a prisoner of the moment. It's just like, God, can I imagine somebody doing better than 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases? Like, I think that's a fair comment.
All right, it's a fair comment. So I said to the guy, Don Larson, he said, well, offensively. All right, Babe Ruth had 3 home runs in a World Series game. Reggie Jackson had 3 home runs in a World Series game.
Right.
I mean,
Sandoval
those
had 3 home runs in a
right,
World
those
Series.
have to be up there, too. I mean, also, what those games meant is a lot more than this meant for the Dodgers.
Oh.
I think that the reason that this stands out is he formed this club that nobody else thought possible, 50-50. Like if this same game was had in May and it was his 24th home run and his 26th stolen base, I don't know if we'd say it's the greatest game ever played.
Right.
You know what I'm
But
saying?
it's not the same way. But the same way, and I'm not comparing setting the record or getting into that club to a World Series game, but I will compare it in the sense that it changes the situation, and it does up the ante of doing it. So
Yes.
the fact that when it was on the line and he did it all in that night, it does make it greater.